The NRL fantasy halves position, one that caused problems and brought joy last year. We saw some top halves fall off the radar a bit. We saw some guys like Jerome Hughes ascend into that 60-plus average area. We got a lot of value out of players like Jack White, and it's a very important position in fantasy. I mean, maybe they are like
fantasy is family.
Fantasy is family. We're keeping the bloopers in this year.
Yes.
But it's very important. Now, Biz, I'm going to throw to you here. What is your strategy for the halves this year?
Well, last year was Cleary and Hines, and I'm not doing that this year. I think Cleary is a standout number one, and then it's a bit of a choose your poison. Like I think we were talking about it off screen, like how we're going to talk about the halves this year. And I think your kind of heat mapping and things like that are interesting because there's about 10 names here who could all be fantasy half number two. And there's a bunch of young guys, there's a bunch of vets, and then there's some guys who are like mid-rangers, Munster Luai, who could kind of take the step back to their glory. So honestly, after Cleary, it could be anyone.
Let's do that then today. So hot or cold on all these players, and we'll start with Cleary. I'm scorching hot. Scorching hot. Loses Luai. Luai was starting to eat into a bit of his responsibility. He'll now come into this year with either Jack Cole, Blaise Talangi, Brad Schneider, probably the first two, I would say, one of those guys. So we're going to see Cleary ascend back into fantasy dominance. On top of that, injury concerns last year held him back. It's pretty straightforward, isn't it?
Yeah, it's straightforward. I think like a guy like Cleary is, if he's healthy, you get him. And if he gets injured, so be it. You have to start him. Like he's not even priced that high this year. 880K. It was what? 1.1 mil last year. I think Talangi and Cole are probably good for him. I think he just hogs every single kick meter. I think Snyder could kick a bit more than the other two, but they'll definitely, all three will kick less and take on less than Luai. So, captain option week one.
We got that out of the way. Now it becomes open season on these guys.
This is anything now.
This is the fun bit. Yeah. This is the fun bit because we've got Cleary there. All right, Nico Hines is the first guy on the list here. Are you hot, cold, something in between here?
Pretty cold on Hines this year. Yep. I was super scorching on him last year.
Yeah.
I think you were as well.
Yep.
Really kind of cold on him this year. I think the strategy is skipped more for the Sharks to Trindle being the dominant half and Hines chipping away. Yep. I think especially if you look at the final series, Trindle like 20 kicks a game, Hines 3 or 4. Script completely flipped because it was the opposite to start the year. Mm-hmm. Hines still has the talent to have big games, like 60 pluses.
Yep.
Yeah, 60s, 70s, 80s. Like he can still score, but I don't think he'll be consistent enough to hit a 60 average unless in preseason I come and see that they've gone back to the other way around. But otherwise, I'm pretty cold on Hines.
I agree with you completely. I think Trindle as well, he was very effective, especially in the important games last year. Created a lot of nice attacking plays. And I remember it vividly because I had Hines in my team and I was watching Trindle score all these tries and set them up. So that burned. I'm with you. I'm cool on Nico Hines. If he falls far enough in a draft league, though, would you take him over some of those 55-point guys? Like, would you take him over Jerome Hughes, for example, who's the next guy here?
I'd take him over Hughes, yeah. I think I don't think Hughes is
Hughes then?
I'm cold. Yeah, I'm cold on Hughes. I think 60 was his peak year.
Yep.
I think we've seen it before. I think he kind of has years where he plays transcendent, like Dalian, 60 average, but I think he's more of a mid-50s guy. I think Munster comes back, takes a bit more work. I think, in the final series last year, we saw both of them scoring really well, but Hughes, like, you got to remember how dominant he was last year. Like, that kind of thing is really hard to replicate. I think he comes back down to earth a bit, goes back to 54, 55. Yep. I think Hines, even with Trindle dominating, could be 56, 57. Yep. He'll have a couple of 100-plus games just off tries and big attacking stats.
Yep.
I'd take him just above.
Yep.
Just above.
I'm with you there completely. I mean, the plus with both of them is they probably both don't play Origin, I'd say as well. I mean, Hughes definitely doesn't. Hines probably doesn't as well. So, yeah, with Jerome Hughes, I will say too, I think Pappenhausen takes a few of those points this year as well. Yeah. He sort of played a real traditional fullback role last year. He's more of a playmaker than he was last year, I think, this year. So I'm pretty cold on Jerome Hughes as well. DCE, priced at a 53, he's a guy who has been a 65 in the past, but he is a bit older. He's got Luke Brooks next to him, who's a more dominant half. Again, I'm not cold on this, but I'm a little cooler on it. I think at some point he might become more affordable and be an option. And I could see us buying him in round 6, round 7, like we have in previous years. But yeah, I'm pretty cool on this.
I'm neutral wall on this. 1.2% owned, down year. Is it an age thing? Look, I didn't see lower athleticism.
Yep.
I didn't see a lot of numbers telling me that Brooks was taking a lot more away. I think the touches and kick meters were broadly similar. I have to look into that, but how his kick meters kind of developed. But I just don't think that this, like last year, the thought process was Cleary Hines, huge gap.
Yep.
You might as well go Cleary Hines and Cashies.
Yeah.
Right. Like you're not keeping anyone else until the end of the year when you want a third gun half. This year, Hines, Hughes, Cherry Evans, the next 5 guys, they could all be the guy. They could all be the second best half. So I kind of like Cherry Evans. Like I like that he kicks a lot, but he runs the ball a lot. He offloads.
Yep. Those quiet games last year.
Yeah, he did a lot. Have more 30s.
That period. Remember we talked about him. We hyped him up, and he scored a couple of back-to-back 80s.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then he went really cold, and it was low base stats.
Yeah.
As well. So
yeah. But do you think the age is a factor here in terms of work rate, effectiveness? Because he's been a guy that's averaged 68 in the past, and he is a guy who can score a couple of hundreds in a season. Yep. And I think he missed that last year. Like, there were a few big scores, but not a couple of 120s that he's had previously. But I do still like it.
He can have those pop games, 100%. And there'll be a point in the season where he's a buy.
Yeah.
Full price round 1, not for me. But at some point at about 650K, we'll be talking about him.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how I see it. Moving through, Jaden Campbell. And, see, because the question becomes, like, they're at the same price. If you're picking Jaden Campbell, you have to explain to me why you think Jaden Campbell's better than Trey Evans. It's hard. It's a hard case to make.
Can't do it.
Yeah, very attacking stat reliant. But he had games last year where he scored big without those attacking stats where they lost badly. They upgrade the middle forward rotation. He's one we talked about in wing fullback, and I wouldn't consider him at half personally. But
by round 1.
I don't hate him at wing fullback as a super pod.
Yeah.
But yeah, Matty Burton. Now, this is one that I've been high on in the past, and at some point, I'm certain of this, at some point in the next couple of years, Matt Burton will make that leap and he'll have that high 50s average season. He's priced at a 53. He had good games last year. He had some quiet games last year. For mine, the Dogs are moving in the right direction. He's not in my team right now. I'm warm on Matt Burton.
I'm warm.
Yeah.
I completely agree. Like I think he's a 60-point average player in the making.
Yeah.
I think we've inconsistently see him showing the signs of being a great half in real life until about the second half of last year. He started really taking control. He took the consistency. Like he used to be inconsistent. He put the consistencies in his game. He was owning the park, kicking well, picking his moments. This is the year where I'm willing to punt on Burton as being the second best half. I'm not saying it's true, but it could because there's, like I said, there's no real set second best half here. And I think he's on the way up. Dogs are on the way up. He scores in a lot of categories, goal kicks, kick meters, runs the ball a lot, very effective running game. Has the talent to be a 60 average, just needs the temperament to match.
Yeah. So
not
him
hot,
versus
but
DCE? Where are you there? Because I'm firmly in the Burton over DCE camp.
I think I'm a coin flip on them.
Yeah,
I like the pedigree of DC, but I like the youth and upside of Burton. I think eventually they're going to flip, right? Is it this year or is it next year? I think it's probably more likely than not this year, given the ages, but I think that's one, if I'm going to have one of them in the side, I would be tossing and turning up until lockout.
What I would say is if you think that the Dogs are a top 4 side, which I don't have them there.
No.
But if you're one of those people who thinks that they're going to rise into that sort of top 4 conversation, Matt Burton's going to average close to 60.
Yeah.
It's just going to happen. Like you saw Melbourne on the back stretch last year and how Jerome Hughes absolutely dominated. And there was fantasy stat reasons for that. But there was also just he was dominating on the field. Yeah. And because Melbourne were playing well, he was scoring well and vice versa. So if you think the Dogs are an ascending team that is going to make that jump, you have to get Matt Burton 100%. Jamal Fogarty at 705K. There's 2 different stories you can tell here. So the first one is he comes in with Ethan Sanders and he's underpriced because he can average 60 plus, right? So Ethan Strange. Ethan Strange. Same names. They make it hard for me. So Strange is his halves partner. Basically, it just means Fogarty does everything. The other option there is Ethan Sanders comes in, who's a more traditional halfback, and it's more of a split with the mentorship of their future halfback who will get priority, especially in garbage time. So for mine, you could make a case for Fogarty if he's playing next to Strange. You can't if he's playing next to Sanders.
Absolutely agree with that analysis. I think we have to remember how good Fog was to start the year. Now, people were rushing to get him in the team.
Yeah.
Captaining him. Yeah, 60-point average before he got injured.
Yeah.
Kind of came back a bit slower at the back end of the year, which is actually good for his fantasy price. I think that he's another guy that could average 60. I think you could say the same about Burden, DCE, Jerome Hughes. Like they can average 60. They probably all have it in their range of outcomes.
Him next to Strange, where does he rank with your Burton DCE?
Oh, man. I need a 3-sided coin.
I've got him ahead of DCE behind Burton.
I've probably got Fog slightly ahead of them both.
Ooh, big call. All right. So the difference is I think I'm a little higher on Burton.
Yeah. I like Burton. I'm just burnt by him in previous seasons thinking he's going to make it, but he just hasn't. Whereas I've seen Fog do it. I've seen DC do it for like 20 plus years.
DCE is hell. You've had some big DCE moments as well.
I've had some.
You've taken DCE when no one else is on.
Yeah, I've loved DC.
You've got massive scores. Yeah.
I've been real, happy with DC ownership. I think with Strange, I like Fog.
Yep.
With Sanders, like well below.
Yeah. And the risk that they change that up during the season as well is there too.
Yeah,
so,
well, with that overall profile, Sanders is their future 7. They went out and got him from like Para, who really wanted to keep him.
Mm-hmm.
I probably won't get Fogarty on that because I think they will look for reasons to give Sanders a run.
Yep.
So, but if you ignore that fact, I think I might have. I just remember, the first half of last season, he was outpacing Hines.
He's a 60 guy.
Yeah.
If he plays next to Strange, he's a 60 guy.
600 kick meters, 25 tackles.
By the way, we keep going through and there's more guys here.
Yeah.
So Mitch Moses.
Another guy who is in that same category.
He's done the 60 thing before.
Could be the 60 guy.
Parramatta, new coach comes in. Jason Riles comes in. And look, everyone can say what they want to say. No one actually knows how Parramatta's going to play this year. What we can infer from the signings is they've gone, all right, we're going to get rid of RCG. We're getting rid of Gutherson, who's a bit of an older, more traditional, tough fullback. We're bringing in a young fullback. We're bringing in Zach Lomax, Adokar, who are just exciting. Yeah, in the outside backs. And we're going to play, I think, a more attacking brand of footy just based on those signings. So Mitch Moses, does he benefit from that? Absolutely. Absolutely he does.
I would say definitely. It's interesting to me that we are kind of doing that because when Riles got signed, I thought he's going to go for the hard noses. Like he would want to keep those kind of vet players who are kind of real gritty leadership, but he's gone the opposite way. He's kind of gone for the more exciting guys, younger guys, like Adokar. Like I wouldn't have picked that as a Riles signing, but I love that signing myself. I just generally think you need speed in this day and age. Moses priced at 51. He's got a bit of a premium on his average.
They bumped it up.
I bumped up a little bit, but he's come. He didn't play much last year, but he was when he was on the field, it was probably as good as any other half in the game. Like
in real life, rep footy,
dominant. Just at Para. He wasn't on the field much, but he was unstoppable at times.
Yep.
Heat map. It's hard because I'm obviously a one-eyed Para fan, but I would have Moses above DC, Burton, Fog.
Scorching hot on Moses. Scorching hot.
But just. I'm not saying he's like right at the top. The rest of here. It's like kind of like little increments. Like
so if we didn't consider injury risk, which is now part of his profile. Yeah. Right. You have to build that in now. If we didn't consider injury risk, I'd be right there with you. I just think the durability of Burton is so strong. Burton never gets hurt. He never gets hurt.
Where's all the wood, mate?
Oh, yeah.
Actually, that is a terrible thing to say on air. I don't know if you can consider this on air.
I'll knock on wood. But Moses, there's massive upside. And he has averaged, around that 60 mark before. He could do it again. 4.1% ownership. Rookie fullback. So Gutho's not there to take. He didn't take that much, but he took a bit off him. Dylan Brown is definitely just a running 6. Like he is that pure running 6. I don't think Dylan Brown's in a different scenario to like a Jerome Luai, right? So Luai wanted more and was taking more and more and more each year. I don't think Dylan wants that steering half role. And he got given it last year, didn't seem to like it as much. He likes being that more creative attacking player. So
are you just saying that to bump his price down?
I don't think he's worth 1.2 million.
He's not. Anyone out there, any agents? He's not.
If you're the Warriors and you've got a bunch of spare money, please don't sign Dylan Brown off us.
Is Moses captain this year as well? You reckon?
Yeah.
Surely has.
Yeah. I think it's been
Have they already
announced.
announced it?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
New York is tough.
That's all right, mate.
Does
yeah.
he take the leap as a captain?
I don't see it impacting fantasy at all. But I think the fact that he did what he did in Origin and stepped up in that way, he's going to view himself as a game decider more this year. Whereas at times in previous years, he's a game decider that sometimes plays like a game manager. If you know what I mean. Like, I just think he's going to be high on confidence and come in, and there's a lot of opportunity for him.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm hot on Moses as well. You're probably a little hotter, but
I'm a little hotter.
option.
But I think when we go now to Galvin, this could be my hottest.
Of
this second bunch.
we're not.
No, we're not.
We're not the same
seeing
team.
eye to
We're
eye.
not the same
I
team.
am
Okay.
high on Galvin.
How hot? It was 43 degrees yesterday in Sydney. Is it 43 degrees with Calvin?
If Moses is 41 degrees,
Yep.
I'd say Galvin at 41.1 degrees.
Oh,
Mate.
He's at the same price as these other guys, though.
Yeah, but 52 average last year. Wooden spoon side. Aiden Caesar didn't dominate kick meters. Like, it's not going to go down. He had 180 kick meters a game. Like, even if Luai kicks for 500, he's still getting 150,
100%,
200.
Yep.
Second year syndrome, yeah, give me that, whatever. But this guy's like 18.
Yeah.
Tigers get better. Really good scoring profile. Takes the lead. Like, he's already given us a 52 in his first year. The players that have given us in the past are like DCE, etc. Like, they're just pedigrees that they gave him a chance.
Yep.
Paid off in spades. No one's going to be on him because of 3.2%.
Yep.
You really you can't argue the others that much higher than him.
So on Galvin, I agree with everything you're saying. I'll also just on your side of the coin, I don't think his halves partner matters that much. So I had a look at it, and last year I was trying to find reasons for this and that, everything else. His scoring profile doesn't really change no matter who's in the halves next to him. So it was, they had like Caesar. Who was that?
Sullivan.
That's it. Yeah. They had a few guys stepping in. It didn't really change his scoring. He didn't have unrealistically high attacking stats. So yeah, he finds ways to score, and he runs 200 meters a game.
He's
kind of like Cleary without the kick meters.
He's like Dylan Brown, bit of Cleary, bit of these guys. Like, he ended the year with a bung wrist, right?
Yep.
Remember,
Mm-hmm.
we kind of said don't buy him at the end of the year if you don't have him because they could shut him down.
He showed us
his last four games: 66, 60, 46, 52. He averaged 168 kick meters a game last year, which is barely anything. I look at his scores where he's scoring 77. It's off 98 kick meters, 75 of 141 kick meters, 70 of 91 kick meters. He doesn't need a dominant kicking role.
Yep.
If Luai isn't a 600 kick meter guy and it's closer to 400, 250, he scored 0.2 tries a game. In fact, 4 tries in all of last season.
Let me ask you a question. So if the profile stays as it is now, who's a player who's averaged, he's priced at 52. Who's a guy who's averaged 60 as a non-dominant kicking half? And I've got an answer for you, but it's not helpful to your case. It's Cam Munster. So is he Cam Munster, or is he every other running half we've ever seen? Do you know what I mean? Like, I love everything you're saying. I still just don't think he gets to 60 as a running half. Maybe, by the way, just quickly, maybe they're bringing him in slowly, and maybe he actually is a 50-50 kicker.
Yeah.
That changes the whole conversation, right? We'll see that in trials.
Yeah.
But if it's anything other than that, he has to be Cam Munster.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Like, it's the same argument I make with centers. Like, Herbie Farnworth, I think he's unreal. But everything statistically tells you 55 is the absolute cap. History tells you, unless you're Munster, 53, 54, 55 is the absolute cap. Do I think he's averaging 60? I don't think so. Do I think he has the potential? He could be the second best half this year.
Yep.
Yes. I think behind Cleary, he could be the number 2.
Are you seeing more kicking?
I think I'm seeing a little bit of upside across all categories.
Okay.
A little bit more kicking, a few more tries, like 4 tries in 25 games. Like, I think he at least does 7 to 10 this year. I think 0.3 line breaks a game goes to half, like half, 0.5 line breaks a game. I think he gets up to 55 to 57. I think that's enough to be the second best half this year because I think Hines takes a drop. I think I like Hines, Moses, and Galvin as best shots for half two. If I rank them, I'd probably go. Oh, that's really hard. I think I'd go Galvin, Moses, Hines.
Yeah.
Well, I did say 2 minutes ago that
Yep.
he was 0.1 degrees hotter than Moses, so I can't change that now.
Everything you're saying makes sense. Maybe I'm having some limited thinking.
No,
you know,
I can
this early in
definitely
the
see both
preseason.
arguments.
Well,
Definitely see both arguments.
Because it's either his role changes with the kicking, which I'm with you there, or he breaks the mold.
Yeah.
And just does something that hasn't been done before.
Yeah.
Or he's Cameron Munster in his prime.
Yeah.
And they're all possible, but I haven't seen them yet, so I'm still a little lower on him. But I'm with you that he probably won't go below what you're paying for him. And he probably won't play Origin.
Yeah.
So
look, I've said all this, but I don't think he'll be in my team. Like I'm saying, he will be. The second best half.
Stand by it. Don't let me talk you out of it.
But the reason I won't have him in my team is because I want to have Cleary, and I think at his price, I think I can find better value at other positions.
Yep.
I don't think I'll have someone above him. Like I don't think I'm taking one of these other guys. I think I'm going to go cheaper in the halves somewhere.
But in a draft league,
I'm taking
him over all those guys.
And if Cleary got injured, touch wood he doesn't, or he's not ready for round one, which is a possibility. They're saying he might not be. I think he's likely will be, but then Galvin could be my half one. Yeah.
That changes the game.
Yeah.
All right, Lockie Galvin, guys. Yep. We're going to move to Ben Hunt, who is the opposite point of view. I think we're both not.
Yeah, I think this is a tier break. This is now, I think, unlikely to be in the top two halves situations.
So he's next to Adam Reynolds, who's a dominant halfback. He's a dominant halfback as well. They're both
interesting to watch this one.
Yeah, I'm excited to watch it though. I think
are they both 50 guys, or they become 35-35? Or
Adam Reynolds has been. So last year he averaged 46.6. Before that, it was like 5 consecutive years between 55. 48 and 52.
Really, I feel like he was pretty. I think maybe some injuries in there as well.
Yeah. So as an 80 minutes, probably 48 to 52, just like clockwork. It was crazy. Ben Hunt, he's that 50 guy as well. I think they both drop off. Yeah. I think you could make a case in Supercoach they might be better because it's going to be a lot of really interesting plays they can run as a team. But no to Ben Hunt. Dylan Brown, 48.8. He's kind of why I'm not all in on Galvin. Because I watch him and everything you're saying makes sense, and I think it about Dylan Brown. Yeah. And he's probably the one thing that's different is Dylan Brown is less likely to take kick meters than Galvin. It could be. That's the one area where it breaks. But Dylan Brown, when he had that dominant year, what was his average then? Like mid-50s? 55?
Mid-50s, yeah. 50s.
That's what's limiting
56.
me. Like, I see that season and I go, okay, Galvin can have that season and average 55.
Yeah.
Where's the extra 5 points?
Yeah, no, I feel.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. I'm actually really liking this Galvin thing.
Yeah, no, I totally understand your point. Like,
but if you're right, you're right. Like,
I think Dylan Brown is like a great comp. Like, I think
if you add 200 kick meters on top, then it makes sense.
I think Dylan Brown he's not getting 0 kick meters. Like he kind of gets at least 50 to 100. Yeah,
sub 100 for power when Moses is fit.
Yeah.
Hastings, Reynolds, no. Munster versus Luai.
That's a great argument.
This is great.
44. I didn't realize they're the exact same price.
We disagree on this. I love it. Okay, let's go. And I've pre-hyped Munster as well in that Galvin conversation. Munster's best season was a 62. He floated between, I think it's about 54 and 62 for 4 consecutive years before last year. Last year he had that 44 average, and I'll let you give the counters. I won't pre-counter my own argument, but I just sort of look at him as a guy who, if he comes in fit, he's a guy who cannot average below 44. The only way he averages below 44 is through injury, which is a viable risk. But I just see him in a really good Storm side, being good and wanting to prove himself again and wanting to play well for the Storm and, getting it done at 589K. That's value.
Yeah, I'll counter. I mean, I love the mid-ranges this year. I think there's so many options that could go gangbusters or absolutely terrible. I think, maybe not absolutely terrible, but Munster by round 2, still not running apparently, or training fully, even if he is running. Last reports. Yep. Dodgy groin for the last couple of years. Jerome Hughes' big leap shows he can get it done without Munster. Pappenhausen, you're saying doing more ball playing. Can he get to a 55 average? Probably, yeah. Elite talent. I mean, we saw if you look at his scores in the finals, kind of like top scored in 2 of the 3 games they played and ran for about 200 meters a game, all 3 games. A couple of 60s, couple of 70s in there almost. So I just feel that those kind of performances he'll kind of bank for bigger games.
Yep.
I think they'll rest him when they get out to early leads, which I think will be often. It's Melbourne.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely agree. Won't give you less than 44. Probably won't even get you less than 50. But I think 50 is probably where he ends up this year. Still young.
Yep.
He's 30. So
yep.
The
thing I'll just counter with there is you can call it a 50.
Yeah.
But if you get a few of those well-timed pop games,
yeah,
which he is
yeah.
totally capable of.
Yeah.
He's just one of those guys who, and it's the same as Bradman Best, right? Like, I'm a bit biased towards a guy who you can watch rack up fantasy points, and who you can take a heat check on, and you can kind of watch them play, particularly in trials, but more in the season, and just sort of know pretty confidently, all right, he's in, he's hot or he's cold.
Yeah.
Right. And with Cam Munster, we're going to be able to see it. He's hot or cold.
Well, he's not going to play preseason.
No. But during like round 1, he'll be hot or cold. And
well, the round 2, that's what I'm saying. My view of this is round 2 bye. There's going to be some sort of flop mid-ranger or gun in your team, and if he's looking hot in round 3, you bring him in. On the flip side, I will say I said this argument for Pappenhausen last year, and it was great in week 1. He scored 20, 81 in week 2. I'm already behind. He didn't do great after that, but like you see that one score and you rush to get him in, and then if he falls off, he falls off. I mean, I just look. Even the ownerships kind of prove both sides of the story. 22.4%.
Which 22% of people own him though? Do you know what I mean? Like I think it's not the, like I own him, but I think which is. So I'm going to self-burn.
Yeah.
I don't think it's the super serious buy planners who are getting Cam Munster. I think they're going to look at that buy, and closer to the year, a lot of the really serious players are going to jump off Cam Munster for the reason you've said. There's going to be injury news, it's scary, all that sort of stuff as well. To me, I like the buy for players that I like. Like if they have that buy, and I'm the owner of Munster, and in the leagues I'm in, if he's a pod for me in head-to-head matchups, all that sort of jazz, and I'm watching him tear up.
Yeah.
Against, well, not round 1 because Parramatta will win by 60, but in round 3.
The flip side is here that look, the easiest times to cover a player is early in the season. You got all your trades, you got all your squad healthy.
Unlimited trades round 1.
And like squad's arguably healthy. There's no one else really on a buy. You're hopefully putting out less fires than you are middle of the season. So that's the kind of look, I think 22.4% ownership is perfectly articulating that there's 2 sides of this argument. It's like you could be on either side and you could be right or wrong. Look, I don't think you can be wrong if you buy him. You're not losing money on him.
It could hurt you on the injury front. He misses games.
Yeah, he misses games, but like you can say that with a lot of players. Like I think there's more. Look, I will say I'm not an owner right now because the round 2 buy. If he was playing round 2 buy, he's in my team. So that was the decider for me. But I actually think in saying that, there's more downside in not owning him because he could come out with a couple of 60s. Or start off with 60 round 1.
Yeah.
And you're like, damn, like I wish I had him. I had like the lowest price. Whereas like I think worst case round 1, if you own him, it gives you a 45. And you're fine with that.
Let's go to the other side of this coin. Because I'm Team Munster over Team Luai.
Yeah.
And I'll let you can nail Luai first. I cool on Luai each day.
Yeah. Luai 23.9% ownership, so slightly higher than Munster, probably because he doesn't have that early buy. Look, I love Luai as a player. I think people have been cold on him. I think a lot of people have thought he's succeeding because of Cleary, like he's in a great team. Like I've always been high on Luai. Like coming out of the junior grades, I think Luai was even like just as highly touted as Cleary was. I think he came in earlier than Cleary, or maybe not like because Cleary kind of had Maloney next to him for a long time, which was great for his development. I think Luai. I think he just gets under people's nerves. Like he gets under people's skin. Like he's a bit of a, I grew up in Mount Druitt. I love that kind of character. He's my type of guy. I love that ego. I love that charisma. Like he's going to piss a lot of people off. But, the guys that like him really like him. I'm on the side. Like I really like him. So I think, talent wise, I was always of the view that he could run a team as a 7.
Okay.
This is his chance. So 56.9 average or something running the team last year. Like obviously it's a lot harder to run the Tigers than it is to run Penrith. Like I could probably halfback Penrith and do pretty well, right?
Do you want me to give you some players who average 50 plus as the halfback of Penrith.
Yeah.
Sean O'Sullivan, Jack Cogger, I think he did too.
All right, sell. Done. And the
O'Sullivan's a
podcast.
52.
Yeah,
that
Snyder
role?
played pretty well.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, I get that, but I think talent-wise, Luai is obviously more talented than those guys. And I think it's his team. Co-captain. They've given him a giant deal.
Oh, he's the guy.
Yeah, and like anytime you watch it in NFL fantasy, you saw Barkley this year, you saw Derrick Henry. Like people write them up, but like, when a team goes out, gives you that money. Like they want you to be the focal point. If they're giving you that much money, they're going to give you as much as you can get. You'll touch the ball like a million times a game. He can score through every category except goal kicking, which he can goal kick. He's done in the past. I'm not saying he will, but he can. And kick meters, which he hasn't had except for that run where he's the 7. And we saw that he did it well. He had a good kicking game. He's good off the short kick. He's pretty good on long kick. He's not Cleary, like who is, right? He wasn't in my first cut of the team. I skipped both Munster and Luai. I kind of went for like a Cleary and a Sanders Smith combination. Like I'm not going to end up there. I just kind of quickly ran it through. I am slightly pro Luai to Munster solely because of the round 2 bye. But I think they're equal chance at averaging 55 this year. I'll probably end up with them both. Like I think Munster after the bye, I'll pick him up pretty quickly because I think he is going to have a good year. But I think Luai is just a guy who he will play the trials. I think if he's, we still yet to see this injury. Like we haven't got details of the injury. He could miss the first round.
We're assuming he's fully fit
for this, and fully fit for some preseason where we get to see him next to Galvin. If he takes 20 kicks while Galvin's on the field and Galvin takes 3, like 100% I'm on Luai. Maybe I'm cooling off on Galvin. If it's like
that's
50,
one thing I was going
50,
to raise there because like they can't both jump up close to 60.
So they're kind of 50-50.
You think one of them, but what you're saying is one of them is going to be a guy.
I think Luai doesn't need to kick for 600. I think he can kick for 400 and Galvin for 200. And I think Luai has enough other skills, like try assist, line break assists, offloads. He loves the crab run. He can get some tackle breaks. He'll run the ball more. He'll touch the ball a lot more. Like he was touching the ball way less than he probably should at Penrith just because of Cleary, right? So, I don't think he's a 60 average guy, but I think he can be low to mid 50s.
Well, I'll pay you on like everything you're saying. This is the thing. It's fun with fantasy chat because I can agree with all the things you're saying, come to a different conclusion. I'll add in that when he played for Samoa, he was the lead half there 100%, and they upset England, and they were fantastic in that tournament a couple of years ago. That, for me, was when I changed my view of Luai. Before that, I was kind of like, whatever. But after that, I was like, he backs it up. I don't mind. If a player's cocky and they back it up, I'm good with it. I don't mind at all. Luai is a guy who probably won't average below 44. I think we can say that pretty confidently.
Definitely not,
I just think there's going to be some absolute howlers in there. And what I'm going to point to, which is a bit different, is Api Coruscant for the Tigers. So he has those games where he's absolutely fantastic and does everything and he gets the ball nonstop because he has to. And it's other games where they're just getting stomped on and he scores 15 points because it all just goes wrong. Nothing goes right and, whatever else. I think Luai's going to have a few of those games. And I think they're going to drag the average down quite a bit. So he's going to have his boom games 100%. He's going to have a lot of the ball. He's going to have some games where it just goes wrong. And he hasn't really experienced that at Penrith, right? So that's just going to, well, I think he'll handle it, but they're just going to happen, right? And he's not Lockie Galvin who runs 200 meters and Galvin's young and he's quite skinny, but he's a big unit. Like he almost runs like a back rower.
Oh, absolutely.
Whereas Luai is not doing that.
Can't take that many hits.
So his base isn't going to be, unless the kick, if he takes every kick, it's different. I don't know. I just sort of see things going, him being that sort of 51, 50 average. So it's value, but he's not in my team right now. Everything you say, though, I agree with. I just think there's less points to go around in the Tigers halves pairing than you do. I think that's the difference here.
Look, I'm not starting Luai and Galvin. Like, I'm going to make a call on one or the other. So I think I'm on both sides of the fence. I think that's probably
I think
lackluster answer.
But not enough to buy.
I think Luai upticks more. I think Galvin. I think I'm less. My Galvin argument is built on more that I don't think he has super upside. But I don't think that there's a huge gap between him and the second best half.
Sure, yeah.
Whereas on a pure points upside, I think Luai can beat his average by 10. And I'm not saying Galvin's going to go up to a 62 average. So I think that's the difference. I think, look, if Munster didn't have that round 2 bye and I had to pick one, I'm picking Munster.
Yep.
But given the round 2 bye, if I'm picking one, I'm picking Luai. But like you, I don't have him in my team right now. So right now, don't have either. Could change, could have both. But that's what I love about fantasy this year. I think there's a lot of kind of these debatable options more so than other years. So
There's too many guys, man.
yeah, I mean, we spent 1 hour just discussing these two. Should we keep moving?
Let's keep rolling. So Dearden's been in a few teams I've seen. I'm not into it. You're not into it. Tamari Martin, if he gets a starting 7 role, he was pretty dominant at times. But he's priced at a 43. There's not enough upside there.
Nah.
Then Sammy Walker's out for the first 10 weeks. Isaiah Katoa had moments last year, but he's pretty highly
Katoa
priced
kind
now.
of, he's highly priced, but he took a jump last year. He could take another jump this year. Super highly rated rookie.
I was high him last year.
You were high him last year.
Took too long to.
If he's next to Averillo and he takes 600 kick meters, maybe.
But you'd be taking him over Munster Luai.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
So the opportunity cost of that price this year, not worth
more of a traditional 7.
Yeah.
Schneider, if he's next to Cleary, I'm not interested. KO Weeks is playing fullback. Brooks, we've seen this before.
Yeah.
Wishart, don't. But actually, how many people have 0.8%? Okay. I thought there might be a few more people getting Wishart just for lols. Jackie Whiten at center, no interest. Lewis Dodd, young guy. I'm going to be completely transparent. I don't know loads about Lewis Dodd.
Yeah. If there's anyone in the who's still watching this after our 6-hour Luai versus Munster chat, let us know on Dodds. Sorry. I mean, interesting price. We've seen the Brits come over and dominate. Like we've seen Bateman. We've seen. I mean, Smithies was decent.
George Williams is who I think.
George Williams,
But
I mean, Cody Walker, he's not the most dominant half in terms of kicking and stuff.
Latrell
kicks a lot.
550k is expensive. I just think it's too much to consider him over all these other guys.
Unless someone comes out and tells me he averages like 60 in overseas.
Even then, I view it as like New South Wales Cup.
The good thing is Charity Shield is actually probably one of the trials that they actually play pretty seriously in.
Yeah.
So he'll play Charity Shield, I assume, and you can get a good look at him.
Yeah.
So
the roll through. Clifford had some good games last year, but I'm not keen on that. Cody Walker has had periods of averaging 50. He averaged 38 last year. It was a pretty dire year. If Lewis Dodd comes in as a steering half, Latrell's good, Souths are good. You could make a case for 12 points of upside, but at the same time, he's a bit older. So I'm not going to make the case.
No, neither am I.
You could.
Trindle next to Hines. Look, he showed he could score big. Like he had some big games, but he also has some down games because he's kind of a guy who'll score you 60. He's getting a lot. Like if we go back to our narrative on Hines that he's taking all the kick meters, I think it's interesting, but I don't think he has the running upside or fantasy upside to average 48 plus next to Hines. Whereas I think Hines can still average 50 to 60 even without the kick meters. I think even with kick meters, Trindle probably can't. I mean,
he will whip out an 80. Though.
Yeah, he's averaged kind of
6
50.
weeks. He'll have one of those big games.
Yeah,
and everyone will be like, "Oh."
I'm saying that, but he has averaged like 48, 50 when he's been the dominant playmaker. So it's an interesting one. I just think Hines is too good to give up too much. Like Hines is their marquee. They're paying him like he's going to touch the ball. Like
we're not getting Trindle.
No, we're not getting Trindle. And like even if he does well, like I don't understand why the Sharks would give Trindle so much ball. Like I know he's a good player, but Hines is. Like, I know he had a down second half last year, but he's still the guy.
I guess
he's one of the best
though.
halves.
Kennedy isn't on the ball that much,
No.
and Brayley is a pretty traditional hooker.
Yeah.
So you've got some playmaking duties to go around.
Yeah.
Amongst those guys, and you've got a lot of great ball runners, like line runners.
Yeah.
Who are pure line runners on the edges. So
yeah.
It's pretty enough for both. If Cronulla are amazing,
Yeah.
he'll average 48.
But surely if you want if you've got Hines, like you want him touching the ball as much as possible, and Trindle just kind of giving him a break, not the other way around. You don't want Hines. You want Hines to be taking as much as he can.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see how they play. Gamble, Sullivan, not as interested, but Tanner Boyd, bit of talk he could start. He's averaged well before. I don't have him as my starting halfback for them. I think tomorrow Martin's
I don't think I think he's 50-50 for the start. I don't love it. I don't think the Warriors are good. I mean, I love the Warriors. Like they're probably my second team, so I want them to do well, but I can't see it this year. Could get the goals potentially, which is he's not a bad goal kicker. He's not great either. But
I'd rather Metcalf get it.
Yeah,
we'll
exactly.
cover him in a sec.
Yep.
Strange, 42k. If he gets the half spot, does he make a second year leap?
I think it's hard. I think Fogg is too much of a dominant playmaker for him to go further.
Also, just doesn't kick. I didn't see him kick the ball preseason. Adam Dewey, no thanks. Cogger, if he gets a start.
Cogger's not bad. If he's next to Sharp and Sharp does nothing on the kicks, Cogger's doing 500 kick meters.
Cogger's average
can do it.
40.
You did tell me he averaged 50 at
Dogs.
Panthers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Cogger's got 10 points of value in him if he's next to Sharp. But like, I'll be interesting. Look, there's got
the spot.
Cogger, Hastings, Gamble, Crossland.
Yeah,
all four are probably the same level of player.
Yeah, so Rob, who we know well, he was high on Cogger last year.
Yeah,
he got the spot, but he didn't. So
he's a revolving door, and they got Price as well. So 5 potential options.
Chad Townsend, Price in that sort of mid to high 30s. He averages around that every year.
He had one good year. He's had one good year. I think one year he had 48 average. That was the year I owned him, and no one else did.
The issue with that case there is, like, half you want to own, their big year is a random 60, not a random 48.
No, 450k, probably not. I mean, who's his halves? But Sandon Smith probably gets that spot, but he's under a bit of off-field cloud. So
Teddy's there, kind of watches there.
Then none of them are real dominant playmakers.
Yeah,
they're like, sorry, when I say playmakers, they're runners.
Yep.
Like, so maybe.
Yeah,
Townsend could be a bit of a fog.
I'm a firm no, but
fair enough.
O'Sullivan probably doesn't get the start. Atkinson, Hawkins, good backup.
Metcalf's interesting.
Metcalf is one of those guys who, if you get Metcalf, you need to detach yourself emotionally from the roller coaster, because he's going to have games where he scores 80 points and 3 runaway tries. He's going to have games where he's an absolute liability and scores you like 16.
Yeah,
it's just going to happen with the way he plays footy, right? And he's doing the same things every week. Just sometimes they work, sometimes they don't.
Yeah.
I don't mind if he goal kicks at 441k. I'll probably find a spot for him.
Yeah, I think if he's if in the halves, I do like him. Yep. I think if he wins the spot, interesting preseason again, like who's next to him and who's doing a lot of the playmaking. I think Metcalf's is a running guy anyway. Like, he's an attacking stat guy.
Yeah.
So even without kick meters and goals, he can be pretty decent. Yeah. The one I'm actually flipping it. Not going to turn this into another Munster versus Low, but Kyle Flanagan's an interesting one, because we've seen when he's the dominant playmaker with goals. Lomax is gone. He's a good goal kicker. So if he gets the goals, plus 8 points, like 41 average, barely kicked next to Ben Hunt last year. We've seen when he's the dominant playmaker, he averages 50.
Yeah.
Lachlan Ilias is not a noted, everyone hyped him up for the one season, didn't live up to it. I particularly didn't rate him that highly myself. I think Flanagan coach's son. I mean,
Joey Johns 2 years ago said Ilias was right there with Hines and Moses for backing up the Blues.
I clearly am a better spotter of talent than Joey Johns, right? Like, who has the podcast?
Yeah, he's just better at playing footy. No, look, the Flanagan case makes sense. There are points on offer at St. George. And that's why we talked about Gutho before as well. Yeah. It's not going to be Ilias. So Flanagan.
I mean, if it is Ilias, then at 400k, Ilias becomes interesting. I prefer Flanagan because he's got the fantasy pedigree. Look, Charity Shield again. It's good to be in a Dragon because you get to see the kind of how they line up.
Yeah.
So if I see
Flanagan's was a hard watch last year, though.
Hard watch, but that's because you didn't do much. But if he kind of is the 7 and Ilias the 6, or he's a dominant 6, I'm taking a punt on Flanagan.
I love the coach getting rid of Ben Hunt. To make his son
I love
7.
That. I love that.
Yeah, we'll see.
It's like that when Homer becomes the coach and elevates Bart.
I don't know if I can look at Kyle Flanagan in my team. I everything you're saying, again, I agree with that. I just can't look at him in my team. I might do it just before the season starts, but for the next month, I'm going to be Flanagan free. Yeah,
why don't you just keep that spot blank and then just last second begrudgingly, even if he kicks for 400
Let's put Metcalf
in
there.
Charity Shield and he kicks goals and he's touching the ball the most in the team other than the hooker, you can put him in just before lockout.
Perfect plan. And we talked about Ilias there too. Joshy Schuster, 400k. If he got a starting spot in the back row, it won't happen round 1, I don't expect. But they've signed him for that.
Maybe it will. Murray's going to miss the first few games. Colo's at lock. If it's not Tallis Duncan, they've got the edge spot open. Could be Schuster.
Decent minutes.
It's interesting to me that Wayne Bennett signs a guy like Josh Schuster.
I like it.
Yeah. I like Josh Schuster.
Bennett signed Pangai.
True.
Bennett likes.
Yeah, he likes the project.
Bennett coaches how I play fantasy. He's just like, let's go for the upside. Hammer at fullback.
Fair enough. Yes. Yeah. I mean, I love Schuster's talent. I love. I just really haven't really put the puzzle together. What happened from his rookie year to everywhere after? How does it go so wrong?
Doesn't run the ball enough. You watch him play, particularly at Manly, and he just like when he runs the ball, he's unstoppable. I'm like put away all the skills. I'm just saying as a pure ball runner, like he's such a nugget. He just runs over everyone, right?
Yeah,
so if he just trucked it a bit, then the passes would be more unexpected.
You reckon he's the type of Brycey Cartwright guy could start to the career a bit of a fall off and then a late resurgence? I mean, hopefully not late because he's still very young.
Yeah,
right?
I mean,
so hopefully he resurges this year. But I'd love to see a fit, having fun, playing well. Josh Schuster.
I see him as the solution to one of South Sydney's edge back row spots, and I see them. This is just how I imagine it. But I've got no mail, by the way.
Yeah,
Kaloa Matangi being more of a prop, he was just so good in the middle. And if you had Kaloa and Murray in the middle together, and then maybe Totola or Tallis Duncan or whoever it is, they've got a strong middle rotation there. Then you set up Ewan Aitken and Josh Schuster.
Great combo.
Right? Very
attacking,
strong
defensive. Aitken is like reliable. You know what you get.
Yeah.
Great defender. Schuster upside.
Yeah, because they've struggled there. They've been running like Cheek Cam, Jacob Host. They've moved Murray to the edge, which I think is a terrible thing to do. Like,
that move.
He's just such a good lock. So
good.
Yeah, Schuster's one to keep an eye on. But for fantasy, probably not round one. If you're in a dynasty league, I'd go get him. But other than that, Jamie Humphries, I'm just going to note on this because I think he's super talented. I think there is space at hooker. I'm not fully convinced that Mama Zealous owns that hooker spot long term.
Yep.
I'm not fully convinced that Humphries is the answer there either, but I just think he's a great talent. And I think he's going to work his way into the 17 at some point and might earn his way into the starting 13.
Yep.
And their halves are pretty locked up. So that's where I see it.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I mean, Mama Zealous has a lot of pressure on him this year. I think moving Cook, who is much loved at the club, is a big vote of confidence, but it doesn't always pan out with these young kids. So let's see how it goes.
Doesn't always, We moved Reed Marnie at Parramatta and we struggled at hooker too. Ethan Sanders, if he's starting 50K, it's a good price.
Yeah.
Do you like Gordon at the Titans at all? Do you know much about him?
Don't know. I mean, I've seen snippets. I've seen the hype. I mean, buy round one, easy cash down option week 2, I think, or week 3 if he has a good big week 2. Don't know if he gets a spot. So I think it's a preseason learning exercise on him. Yeah.
Yep. Fair play. And we'll roll down the list here. Sandon Smith, 250K. If he's starting, he's 250K.
Yeah.
I think he averages close 240.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I think the only other one is maybe Corey Pikes, who's talked about winning the 9 spot, but every report says it'll be Blakey Moz, but I think Corey reckons he's a shot. If he is, he wins that spot. I think he was a hooker of the year in Queensland Cup last year. So
Moses Young. Too. Moses Young.
I don't love Billy Walters a hooker. I think he's got his moments, but I think could be Corey and Blake combination. So then he could be interesting. But I think unless there's not many other great options here, unless
Duffy. There's a bit of talk he could win a spot at the Cowboys.
Yeah.
Again, 250K. You don't have to overthink it if they're
I think guys like Fainu and Sandon Smith and Cole and Duffy, if they win the spot, you're getting them in the team. Like that, I think Cole's unlikely. I think Fainu is only likely if Luai's injury is worse than thought. Then he might get the spot next to Galvin. All of a sudden, Galvin becomes prime time. Ooh. But I think the rest are pretty easy. If they win the start, then get him in.
So let's hit this here. So we're both going Cleary. Back to
both
the top.
Cleary.
You are on Galvin Moses is your next 2.
Yep. Galvin Moses Hines. Yep. That's my next 3.
Yeah. And I'm probably
You're a Burden boy.
I'm finding it so hard not to say Hines.
Yeah.
I know. I still kind of.
I love Hines. I just want him to take back over from Trindle, but it was working late last year, and unless it doesn't work again, I can't see it.
I'm going to say Hines. I just think Cronulla would be really good this year. I think Fanua Blake's a great signing.
Beautiful.
They've had a few of those issues late season, so I'm going to go Hines. I'm with you on Moses. I think Moses is fantastic, and I'll go Burton as well. I'm probably going to say Burton over Moses if we're talking about full season scoring.
Yeah.
Just because I think Moses might crack the Origin team with Cleary. But
and your favourite mid-ranger is Munster?
Yeah, Cammy Munster.
I'll go Luai and Kyle Flanagan, who you hate. But hey, look.
I'm rooting for Kyle Flanagan.
I'm sure you are.
No, he's been written off, but he hurt me in fantasy last year. I was so high on him last year.
I know you were. We were both pretty high on him. But anyway,
he 200K.
Yeah, it was a good pick. But yeah, look, I think halves this year is Pod City.
Yes.
There's a lot of great options. Let us know in your comments how you're ranking them.